Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really excited that we're going to do our last project in volcanoes today. So what we're going to start with in the screencast is I'm going to review what we've done so far, and then I'm going to give you directions for our final project. The reason I'm going to go through some things and show you some resources is when you get started on your final project, you might think, I can't remember all the different kinds of volcanoes, or which kind was mine again? So you'll have all these resources, all these places that you can go and look at the things that we went through. So remember that our volcano unit is part of the plate tectonics and large-scale system interactions. We've been learning about how mountains are made and how oceans are made and valleys and all sorts of things about how the Earth is formed. And our objective in this particular unit was to identify patterns in volcano locations and also how they're formed and their formations. And we learned some vocabulary. We even talked about this before we got started, what active, dormant, and extinct meant, about lava versus magma. And then we talked about shield and cone and stratovolcanoes. Here's what we've done so far. We started with a KWL chart. I'm going to show you a copy of it here in a minute. We talked about, I wanted to know what you already knew about volcanoes because volcanoes are pretty popular. So I figured you would know quite a bit about them already, and sure enough, you did. And then I went into what do we want to know, but we really talked about what if I lived near a volcano? And the reason that I brought that up is because I actually did live near a volcano. So I wanted you to kind of get in my head or in your head, if you were going to move or live near a volcano, what would you want to know about it? And of course, the specific thing we said most is it going to go off? Is my lawn going to be full of lava? So we talked about those questions. And then we went to a map activity. We looked at different volcano maps to find the patterns of volcanic activity. And we created a list of questions about what we would want to know. And the couple of the maps are linked here, so if you want to go back when you're looking for your volcano you're going to do your final project on, you can go back to these maps and say, I wonder what this one is. And then we watched a really cool video, and we also studied a presentation. And I've included links to them here so that you can go back and look at them. Here's our KWL chart. And like I said, in this case, we said, what would I want to know if I lived near a volcano? Although we asked other volcano questions too. We haven't done the learned part yet. That'll be the last thing that we do. Here's one example of the maps that we looked at. And remember that we talked about, wow, there's this whole bunch of them right across here. Interesting pattern. And we actually found out that that's called the Ring of Fire, and it's because of the tectonic plates. So go back and review that if you don't remember that. But that was one of the patterns that we saw. And then this is an example. This is one of the slides from the presentation that we went through. This one happens to be about magma. And we learned that it's called magma when it's inside of a volcano. A volcano has a magma chamber inside of it. And then when it erupts, by the way, it's very hot, 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit. But when it erupts, it comes out, and then it's called lava. You can go back and look at this slideshow if you'd like to. I think this is the coolest picture ever. This is the video that we watched. And this video is actually what it looks like inside the Earth with all this hot rock, melted rock, and shows here's a volcano right here. And of course, you can't really see inside the Earth. So this is really amazing to have this video that did a graphic that showed us what it would look like, or what they think it looks like, because nobody's actually ever been in there. All right, so let's talk about our volcano project. First of all, I want you to choose a real volcano. I want you to find one that you're interested in, or just look at one that you might be interested in. For instance, you could work on Kilauea, because that's actually currently erupting. It's active right now. You could look at the volcano on Adak that I lived near. It's called Mount Moffat. You could look at some of the ones that are in Italy that were very famous. Pompeii. You could look at some of the ones in Africa. like Mount Kilimanjaro. There's all sorts of interesting and fun volcanoes, or even keep it local, Mount St. Helens, which is north of us. So let's take pick one that's interesting to you. Then you're going to describe where it's located, the country and the city, and include some pictures, at least one, but include some pictures so we can see what that volcano looks like. Explain why it formed. Is it over a hot spot? Is it at a plate boundary? Find out why it's there. Describe it using scientific terms, those terms that we learned. If you've forgotten some of them, you can always go back to the presentation. So the type of volcano it is, in other words, is it a strato? Is it a dome? Is it a shield? The status of the volcano, is it active or extinct or dormant? And what type of eruptions it's having, or, did it have an eruption in 1770 and that was the last one? Something about the eruptions. And then include 3 interesting facts. What makes your volcano unique? What do locals say about it, for instance, would be another thing that would be interesting. Some locals have a whole religion about volcanoes, for instance, in Hawaii. So what are the locals? Just 3 interesting facts. And then answer your questions that you asked in the beginning. What would I want to know if I lived near this volcano? What were your questions, and what are your answers now that you've learned more about it? This is going to give you an opportunity to use all that volcano knowledge that you got. So you can do this in different formats. You could do a Google slideshow. You could do a written report. You know how to do these. You could do a screencast. If you're interested in doing a screencast, I actually have a screencast about how to do screencasts, and I can help you too. The difference between a screencast and a Google slideshow, or any slideshow, is that see how in the bottom there's a little picture of me talking to you? Well, in a screencast, you have that, whereas in a slideshow, you don't. There's some other things that you can do with a screencast too. You can turn it into a video like I did with this. You could also make a poster. For instance, with a poster, you could either draw pictures or you could print out pictures and attach them. You could do a mind map to present the information. I'm going to go back a minute though. I want to make sure that no matter which one of these that you use, whether you do a screencast or whether you do a Google slide, you do a written report, or you do a poster, that you need to include all of these things. You need to say where it is, how it's formed. So what I suggest is that as you get going, you remember and go back to this slide and review to yourself, ooh, wait, I forgot, I need interesting facts, or I forgot to answer my questions. Just make sure before you're done that you review this and make sure you included everything. And you can work with your partner, or you guys can decide to do this individually. Maybe you're both excited about one volcano and are going to work together. Maybe there's one you really wanted to do and there's one your partner really wanted to do. Either way is okay. So now I really, really want you to be successful with this project. So any questions that you have, I want you to ask me so that you can be successful. I know that these are going to be really good because, come on, who doesn't like volcanoes? And you have lots of ways that you can present what you've learned about it. So anything that you need to know, I will be here to answer for you. Remember, you also have the information that we already went over. You can watch the video again, remind yourself, get excited, and I really can't wait to see which volcanoes you cover, learn about them, and the cool projects that you'll make.